And we are live. Hello, everybody. Thanks for tuning in today. It's Bike Week. So how are you all getting on with it? I'm not doing too badly myself. I've personally taken on the hashtag 7 days of cycling challenge and 4 days in, and I've been cycling 4 times, a little bit of a mix of stuff, a bit of road cycling, mountain biking. And today I ticked the box with a 10-minute bicycle ride. Instead of walking with the dog, I took it for a bike ride. But it counts. Any moment on the bike counts during Bike Week, 7 days of cycling. That's what we're asking you to get involved in. So if you've been doing it, we'd love to hear about it in the comments below. We've also got loads of activities going on during Bike Week. So you can see down there at the bottom of the screen that you can check out all what's going on our website. And because of the special occasion that it is being Bike Week, we've got a Cycling UK bonus edition of An Audience With. So An Audience With was started during lockdown by Cycling UK to bring the cycling community together. You know, we weren't getting our social cycling fix. And it was a fantastic series. Some of the best loved names in cycling joined us in the studio. And we decided to bring it back with a bonus edition, because it's Bike Week, with somebody who's going to take a little bit of a different spin, a little bit of a different angle on cycling. Because today we're going to be talking about the business of cycling. And I mean the business side, you know, the money-making side. This is what we're going to be talking about, because our guest today, well, he's got some interesting opinions. So get in the live comments, get in the chat, because I want you to put your emojis in that chat bar with some smiley faces, because we can't do round of applause because we're all online. So smiley faces as we welcome our guest, because he is ex-secret millionaire, Dragon's Den judge, investor in Atherton's Bike, and mountain bike enthusiast. Please welcome Piers Linney. Yay, my one-man applause.
Nice to see you again.
How are you doing?
I'm coping. It's been interesting. It's been a lot of work, actually. I'm actually on the board of the government bank who put together all these loan schemes for small companies. So that's been quite interesting. Quite a busy time.
It must be really interesting, actually, because small companies are the ones that are going to be quite affected during this time. Have you been able to get out on your bike as well? Have you been choosing to, or choosing to stay at home?
I had a collection of bikes. My road bike got nicked. I had a Condor, and then I've got a cyclocross. Haven't been out on a downhill bike, and I'm waiting for my my Atherton bike. So I've been getting out, but mostly on the cyclocross, or I've got like a hardtail where I mess around with the kids.
You're not doing jumps and stuff.
Yeah, I think people think I'm a bit. I get told off and get out of parks by parkies. You don't realise I'm nearly 50. Out a few parks.
And how are you finding the cyclocross bike? Is that a bit of a new one to your quiver?
No, I've had it for a while, but it's pretty good, because I'm up in the northwest near the coast, so you can kind of ride on the road to get to the coast, and then you can, you know, get off the road a little bit. It's a bit quite flat, but I want to get back on the mountain bike. I'm really missing it, actually. And my partner, she's a newbie, so she's quite into mountain bikes, although she hasn't fallen off yet, so that might not last.
Yeah, there is a bit of a scale, isn't there, of like loving it and then falling off and then having to get through that next barrier. I point her in the direction of Cycling UK, actually, because we've got loads of top tips about beginners getting into cycling. So we'd be happy to chat to her, especially now that we know she's not your agent. So anyone listening, I've been speaking to Piers' agent about booking him in for today, and it turns out that she's not your agent at all, is she?
No, I can't afford her. No way. And also, I've got a group of friends, like we all went to Hafjell in Norway, so it's been quite interesting. We've used sort of this time really to sort of, you know, been sharing things, and we put together like a sort of they did most of the work, a magazine about our cycling endeavours, and that won a little competition. So it's been quite a good little bit of banter going on between the sort of WhatsApp group, which has been quite fun.
It's amazing how creative people have actually got during this lockdown on WhatsApp. It's been a bit of a lifesaver for me as well. But anyway, let's crack on with this interview. Let's get people to know a little bit more about you and your background. You grew up in Stoke-on-Trent, so you grew up up north. Was your upbringing an environment? Was it an obvious choice that you were going to become a businessman, an entrepreneur?
So I grew up I was born in Stoke-on-Trent, actually, but I grew up from the age of 9 in Lancashire, in a old mill town, and I was always sort of interested in. So really, I learned the hard way. Really, I wanted to make some money. So the reason I started my first business, this is a true story, is my first business was I used to have a paper round here, £5 a week, got up 6 days a week at 6:30 a.m., delivered papers for a newsagent, and it was just terrible because up there when it snowed, it used to cover your cars. So on a Sunday, they didn't deliver papers, the newsagent was shut. And my dad, well, it was open, but they didn't deliver. And my dad said, oh, I want to get my paper. So I went down to the newsagent on my bike, bought my paper, brought it back, and he paid me over the odds for it. So I asked his neighbour, saying, do you want to get me your paper on a Sunday? He goes, yeah, I don't want to get out of bed. So I got his paper, and you can see where this is going. So I kind of flyed the neighbourhood and did all these Sunday papers. And I used to earn like 15 to 20 quid on a Sunday morning for doing a bit of a longer round. And I bought the papers off the distributor, the wholesaler, and I cut out the newsagent. And the reason I wanted to earn that money at the time was because I wanted to buy a £400 Curtis BMX at the time. And that was a lot of money in the 80s. And my mum said, oh, I'll give you half towards it. So I had to sort of find 200 quid, which is quite a lot of money. So my first business really was really about learning that if you find a niche and you exploit it and you work hard, then you can enjoy the upside, which was in my case was a BMX.
And has that always been your goal? Like you have a goal in mind when you're making money. So it's like it starts off wanting a BMX. Next, maybe you'll want a holiday. Next, it'll be a house. It'll be a lot of money in the bank. It'll, you know, are you always working towards a gain?
I know. So it depends on your life stage. I think when you're very young, my advice, if you're looking to go into business and you're in your 20s, is just take risks because you can afford to take risk. As you get older and you have more commitments and obligations and mortgages and you maybe get married, have children, and all we know how it goes. It's harder to take risks. So in my 20s, really, I was just doing stuff so I actually am a qualified lawyer. I left my comprehensive school, and it's a different live stream, trust me. And I managed to get a job in the city. And I became an investment banker. So I was this sort of young, comprehensive school kid in the city, earning more money than I could spend. So I had kind of money. And when I went to the business, it was the first .com wave. So you kind of thought you could make a lot of money reasonably quickly, but it didn't work out that way. It all went a bit sort of pear-shaped. But I was more interested, but the money was sort of it was a goal, but it wasn't really all I was trying to do. Now, as I got older, I was focused more on making money because I had more things to spend it on and more obligations. I think now I've had a few success stories. I've had some things that haven't worked out, so I've had the ups and downs. But now what I try and do is things that interest me and with people I want to work with. So you've got to have in a business the passion, the skill, and the market. So if you haven't got the market, it tends to be a hobby. If you haven't got the passion, it tends to be a job. If you haven't got the skill, it tends to be a failure. So I've always tried to make sure you got those three things. And most things I'm involved in now are with people I really respect and want to work with.
So you're building a life for yourself, not just trying to make money. It's about a fulfilling life as well. And you mentioned the word failure there as well. I assume, presumably, in your risk taking, you must have had some failures as well. It's not been a complete 100% success story.
I've had lots of failures. I've had business failures. You've had business failures causing those personal failures. Think about being an entrepreneur. I think and it depends. But even when you're sort of creating wealth, you can be heard this phrase, so sort of asset rich, cash poor, where you can actually think you're sort of sitting on money in a big business, but some months you can't pay yourself because you can't cover the payroll. So you've got to balance sometimes, depending how you're going through life, your income and your capital. And I got to the stage where my capital, the businesses I was sort of running and building, they could afford to pay me reasonably well. That's not the case anymore. Now I'm kind of back to a lot of sort of startups where you're not sitting there taking out huge amounts of money. Really, you're trying to build capital. That's what's always interested me. But you've got to get that balance right. You can't, because what you can't do is try and build a business where you're completely skint and you're stressed and you owe people money, because you're not going to be able to focus on the job at hand. And it can be a lot of hard work and long hours trying to build a business. So I always say what you need to do really is to try and jettison all the baggage and the balls and chains. A lot of young people, they've got the big watch and a TV, a car they can't afford, or some rent in some posh flat they can't afford, or house, whatever it might be. And they're balls and chains. And what they do is they prevent you from taking risk. So try and be sort of light and lean for as long as possible.
I like it. Good tip. We'll go straight in with the great tips. This is amazing. And we haven't even got to the TV fame part as well. And I guess, you know, people tuning in here today will be tuning in because they've seen you on Secret Millionaire and Dragon's Den.
Well, it's back on TV now. It's back on Sundays. They're showing the best of. So I've been actually watching some of it, which is quite interesting. It looks like watching a different person. It's quite weird, actually.
It must be weird. It must be weird. Does it seem really old-fashioned as well? I was watching some videos the other day that were only about, I don't know, 6 years old, and I was like, whoa, this seems really outdated. Like technology moves.
Yeah, it was quite a weird one because when I went on Dragons, so I did Secret Millionaire in 2011, and I spent time at a young offenders institution. So I sort of through that ended up on TV doing Dragon's Den, and they considered, are you going to wear a suit? And I said, no, I'm not wearing a suit. So what are you going to wear? I said, I'll wear some smart jeans and a shirt. Like, what do you mean smart jeans? I was like, well, like, not ripped. And they said, well, we need to come back to you on that. So there's a big discussion about, can I wear jeans? And I think the first one I was playing a bit safe. I had the blue jeans and had the blue businessy shirt. And the next one I had my Alexander McQueen shirt, Alexander McQueen shoes, and I also lost a bit of weight, I think. So I look quite different in the second series. But it is a great experience. But it's quite weird being a celebrity sometimes, even though I'm not really. I'm sort of way down the list, but it is weird being noticed in the street. Your kids look at you as if something way weird's going on.
Yeah, I guess so, because you put in the hard work beforehand. It's almost like you had to prove yourself, make your money, have success in business before you could get onto those programs. So you'd had success in one area, but then all of a sudden you're having sort of fame.
Yeah, I mean, it's that, but also don't forget I tick quite a few boxes. Let's face it. So the BBC are going for their list of, you know, I'm sort of mixed race. Mum's Barbados, my dad's English. So it's quite an interesting time now. Things that are going on. I went to a comprehensive school. I was a city lawyer, city banker. I made some money along the way. So there aren't, sadly, which is probably another conversation, there aren't enough Piers Linneys kicking about. So that's been helpful to me in some ways. And let's face it, you know, TV and being in the public sort of domain, it opens doors. So that's quite useful. People take your call, they want to talk to you. You get to do things you'd never normally do in life. TV lets you do that. But the flip side of it is that people think they know you and they kind of own you. And what they've done is create a character that's not really Piers Linney. It's like a caricature of who I am.
Yeah. Yeah, and actually, you just touched very briefly on something there. I wasn't actually going to go into it in the chat, but now I think it's sort of unavoidable because it's so topical at the moment with the Black Lives Matter campaign and making visibility where people aren't always visible. And I guess you've had an opportunity to show people what we talk about often at Cycling UK when we talk about maybe women's cycling, is that if you can't see it, you can't be it. So it's about shining the spotlights on different groups of people and saying, look, here are some people doing it, so you can too. So do you feel sort of privileged or pressure or proud to be in a position to showcase that?
It's like, you know, it's like Rachel Atherton. You know, she's a big role model for female cyclists. But I think, and you get this thing, don't you? And I've had it on my social media. You know, Black Lives Matter. Don't all lives matter? You're like, well, it's sort of, I use the analogy that it's like your house is on fire and you're standing outside watching it in flames. You call the fire brigade turn up, and there's some neighbour down the road that pops out with a cup of cocoa in their pajamas and goes, "Oi, don't all houses matter?" You're like, well, this one's one that's on fire right now. So that's really what it's about. I think, you know, there are times to look at all the issues, whether it's, you know, it can be the developing world, whatever it might be, climate change. But right now, it's something that's been going on for a long time. And, you know, it's very easy to get lost in it in some ways. But I kind of look at it as like a war, and you've got to pick your battles. So the way I look at it is that one is to be a role model. So to try and be, sort of put myself out there, be visible, as you correctly said. And I've been able to do that on TV. People sometimes think I'm from all sorts, can't quite work out where I'm from actually sometimes, but I am sort of half West Indian. And then I'm involved in some charities that help you sort of find the sort of next generation of talent, people of colour. And also, I'm a big believer in the top of society is not fair until the top looks like the bottom, and it's proportionate. So it's really about, I think, connecting sort of talent with opportunity, making sure that everyone can access opportunity. So I was like a comprehensive school kid. Everyone said to me, "You want to be a lawyer in the city? You're wasting your time." And you know, by hook or by crook, I managed to blood, sweat, and tears, as well as hard work. I managed to do it and succeed. Whereas a lot of people, they give up before they start because they're told don't bother, or they just don't see people like them. And when I worked in the city, then people who look like me quite often were the ones, at 2 a.m. in some investment bank hoovering up.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I'm glad that we had an opportunity to touch on that.
Touch on that one. Yeah.
No, it's good. It's good. It's very relevant right
my
now.
My mum was West Indian, so she came over to work in the UK. She couldn't get a job in Barbados she wanted, and she was a nurse here. And my experience, my personality is very much from her. She was an entrepreneur as well. She started a business after she retired.
What was her business that she started?
But she was a health visitor, a nurse. She's retired, and she used to she started selling accessories and candles and flowers, and that kind of morphed into like a wedding flower business because she loved flower arranging. So going back to do something you enjoy, she enjoyed arranging flowers, and she built quite a nice little business out of it. My dad was her courier and her sort of white man in a white van. So he was driving around delivering all the flowers, and she did well out of it. But that's something she could never have done when she was young, or even through her career. It was something she's only able to do really when she'd in her sort of 50s, 60s, I think.
Yeah. And having that like visibility, as we've been talking about, do you think a lot about your responsibility as well? Because you've taken, it's going back to TV stuff as well, you've taken part in 2 TV shows which are quite different. One is Secret Millionaire, which is very heartwarming and it's emotional and it's you parting with your money for a good cause. And the other one, Dragon's Den, it's cutthroat and it's harsh. And it's really about business. Does it play on your ethics or who you want to be as a person?
Well, I'll tell you. So sometimes you wake up and you think you should be doing more. What can I do? How can I do it? How can you leverage your profile? So I do think about that quite a lot, especially at a particular time. But I'll tell you stuff about Secret. So Secret Millionaire normally is, should I write a check to help the poorly ponies, the donkeys, or some elderly people who want to go on holiday, which is very nice. It was a bit like that. Now mine, I ended up at a young offenders institution. The whole program was focused on my time there. I did other things, but they edited the program to focus on me being in prison, basically. And I met a young, sort of touching the other subject, I met a young black lad in prison, and I sort of said I'd be your mentor. And he was basically very young, 19, got quite 6 years, I think he served, got 11 years, served 5. Life, these young kids, their life becomes a mess. Because you basically reoffend once you've been through the system. It's very hard to get a job, or a lot of them couldn't read or write. Anyway, cut a very long story short, he got out. I mentored him. I basically showed him some opportunity, trained him as an IT engineer, and now he's probably earning twice the sort of national average as an IT consultant. And that's about, going back to the previous thing, that's about connecting talent with opportunity, really. And the Secret Millionaire I did, I'm quite glad to say, was quite gritty.
Yeah, and you've had a good effect on it. Piers, your screen seems to have frozen, so we're still getting your audio, but we've just got your face frozen, picture perfect like this. So if it doesn't work straight away, I might suggest that you log out and log in again, and it gives me an opportunity to speak through some of the comments that we've been getting in. So how about that? Cool. So those of you who are with us right now, we're speaking to Piers Linney live with Cycling UK. He's having a little bit of a tech issue. So thanks for your comments so far. We've had Pride Out who are saying thanking Cycling UK for their support to Pride Out, and they're loving the quote, "If you can't see it, you can't be it." And it's very true, isn't it? It's all about representing minorities and smaller groups and showcasing that everybody can get involved in this wonderful sport of cycling. Some people are saying hi to Piers. That's Adam. Declan's very excited. Andrew thinks that this is very interesting. So thank you so much for that. Jean-Claude. Right, so what's going to happen is later on, we've got a game called Put It to Piers. So it's a little bit of a play on what Piers was doing in Dragon's Den. Hey, you're back.
The resolution that might help.
Excellent. So Piers was a dragon on Dragon's Den, and we're going to be playing a game a little bit later on where people submit their ideas. They've already submitted them, and Piers is going to give a little bit of his take on it. It's just a bit of light-hearted fun, don't worry. So Jean-Claude, I'm afraid that you have missed the opportunity, but we are going to be doing questions and answers for Piers at the end of this chat, so stick around, and maybe you'll have an opportunity to speak to him with one of your questions. So Piers, glad that we've got you back. We've been talking about all sorts of things with your background and your career. Why don't we get on to cycling now, talking about that? So and that must make this interview a little bit different, isn't it? You normally get interviewed about business things, and now you're getting interviewed about cycling. Where did your passion for cycling come from? How did it start?
Well, I was always I'm quite old now, so I was watching BMX Bandits, things like that. So I was into sort of BMXs and riding with my mates, and building sketchy jumps, all that kind of stuff. So I kind of actually raced a little bit as well, once or twice, quite near to where I am now in Northwest. And then I kind of went to university, and I kind of got out of bikes, really. And I was out of bikes for 15 years, and then I met a friend of mine in London. We were in London by this time, and he turned up on this sort of full suspension bike. Don't ask me why. In central London, in Smithfields Market. And I was like, "What the hell's that?" And he explained it to me. And then I ended up, going out with it's like you go out with the one mate, and you meet another mate, and before you know it, you get a basic bike, and then before you know it, I had a hardtail, then a full suspension bike, and a downhill bike. But I just loved like mountain biking. I wasn't never as fit as a lot of my mates, I'm honest with you, to do sort of a long distance mountain bike. I had to train for it a bit. But anything involved gravity and downhilling, I absolutely loved it. So for my 40th birthday, I took all my good mates away to Hafia. We had a log cabin right on the sort of hill next to the trails. I spent about a week there just riding. So it's something I got back into. And then I used to sort of commute on a road bike. There's something about it. I don't know. I think if you like cycling and bikes, once you get into them, it's funny. My partner now, she's never really had a bike, and she's getting into them now. And you can see already just the way she rides it and swerves around. She just loves the feel of it. And now she wants to. I'm giving her one of my older bikes, and then she wants a road bike and get all the gear. So there's something about bikes, I think, that just gels with the human psyche. It's just wheels turning wheels.
Yeah, I'm with you there on the gravity stuff as well. And then once you start getting into it, you do tend to just fall in love with most sides of cycling.
Everyone loves skiing. I'm like, well, I'd rather downhill all day long. You can get as much damage doing it. But if you like that feeling of skiing, you don't have quite the freedom in terms of movement of where you can go. But downhilling to me is, and I don't do it enough. It drives me mad, actually. Something I haven't really been downhilling for probably over a year, which is pathetic.
But that long?
Yeah, actual downhill. I've been mountain biking. I've done trails and across country, but not actually sort of an uplift. So
is there anybody who's
booked me in? I'm going to go to W as well. So the Athertons have got their hill, but they need to build some trails I can actually survive getting down. So
it's not going to be a light-hearted feat. Anyone watching this, who's more into the gravity stuff? Are there any downhillers watching this right now? Pop it into the comments. And
I like road biking. I've had a road bike, a beautiful Condor Lajaro, and I do 100 miles. I used to be in Highgate. I do 100 miles with Bedford and back. A bit boring on your own, to be honest with you. But I love doing that.
Well, you're getting your partner into it now, so hopefully she'll join you. And that's a perfect example of how one person can have a ripple effect on getting more people into cycling, and that's how it goes. It's really often a friend or a family member who manages to do it. So
I think good on you. You see now, like people getting into commuting, and you get into commuting, you get to enjoy riding a bike, and then you want to do it the weekend, and then you might go off-road, road, or a bit of both, and it's that progression. So a lot of people now you're seeing buying bikes and getting into cycling to commute. Eventually, they will sort of become real hobbyists and have different bikes for doing different things at the weekend.
Yeah, that's what I often think. Like, out of all the new people getting into it, some of them are going to fall in love with it. It's not just a means to an end for everyone. A number of them will have to fall in love with it. So combining your passion for cycling and your knack for business. At first, you were sort of maybe using business, and we're talking about when you were, 12 years old, doing your paper round, right? And using your knack for business to allow you to cycle and get into the cycling world. But over more recent years, you've then used your money to give back to the cycling industry and maybe help build it and support it in a business point of view. Is there money in the bike industry? Is this something that you do for passion, or is it like, you know, what you enjoy? Or do you really think that people can make money in this industry?
So quite often, I get asked quite often by people that come decide, I want to go into business, and I can't decide to start a business or to do some kind of social enterprise. It's probably easy to raise money for social enterprise. I'm kind of like, you've got to decide very early on what it is you want to do, because if you're taking money off people, capital, and people investing time, money, and energy in a business, then you have to make money. So I was sort of contacted by G. Atherton, who I knew from who he was, but I didn't know him personally. And he said, we're looking to start a bike company, these ingredients, would be interested in what you think about it. And I was very harsh actually about saying, look, we're going to build a bike company. This is a company that sells bikes, because the danger for people like me is it's like, oh my God, look at it. There's a 3D printed titanium carbon. I'd hang it on a wall and look at it. Whereas actually, you're going to sell lots of these things. So we've been quite brutal actually in the business about building a business that uses technology in new ways, which at the end of the day, no matter what you're doing, what kind of aspect of cycling you might be interested in, or starting a business in, or any kind of business, it's about adding value. So you've got to find, you hear about this, you hear product market fit. So you're just selling a starter, you've got your product, you've got to find your market. Hopefully your product's just right for the market. If it's not, you've got to change your product quickly as possible, or look for a new market, or a bit of both until they connect. Once they connect, and you can deliver that product or service to those target customers who want it at a margin that makes sense, then you've got a business and you can start to scale it. If you can never get that connection, or if you haven't got the passion, the skill, or the market, those three things, then you probably shouldn't be starting a business. Now, you could have a hobby, you could have a social enterprise if there's not real market for it, or there's no real margin in it. But you've got to think about it very early, is what do you want to do? And especially if you're going to have investors, whether it's your mum, your dad, your friends, angel investors, institutional and venture capital investors. Once you take that kind of money, they're expecting to generate a return, build a business and sell it or float on the stock market and make money. And there's no getting away from that.
And so when you started working with the Athertons, and I'm going to give a bit of background here to anyone tuning in who maybe don't know much about the background. So the Athertons are basically downhill mountain biking royalty. There's Dan, G, and Rachel. Rachel's been nominated for Sports Personality of the Year. We've got world champions in there. They are a formidable force and legends within mountain biking industry. And they decided to start a bike company, and they're bringing out bikes and branding it under their own name. And Piers Linney is one of their investors. So as you said earlier on, G contacted you. So what I'd like to know is, what is it like working with a family that is definitely geared for success? They know what success means and what dedication it takes to win a downhill race.
Yeah, so
does that mentality
I've never worked with elite athletes before, and obviously they're elite athletes. So I always say that, when I go riding with my friends, you get to the car park, you whip your bike out, stick the wheel on, do that on the forks, kick the tire, talk about air pressure for a few minutes, and off you go. Whereas these guys, they're having long debates, arguments even about, changing the size of the spring by a couple of millimeters. I'm talking about, the sort of the way the bike feels in a corner at a certain sort of angle or whatever it might be in that corner. And it's nuts. But if you want to build, world championship winning bikes, that's detail you have to go into. And the beauty of the Athertons is that they're all very, very different, as you know them. So whether it's Dan, Rachel, G, they're completely different as well, and they have a different take on it as well, and the technology, and how it should be applied, and who the market should be. And because they kind of came up through cycling, as a picture of when their kids are riding bikes, they're very keen for the Atherton brand. So yes, we're going to have these hero downhill bikes, enduro bikes, but eventually we want to have bikes that are affordable for newbies, for kids, e-bikes. We want to build a real brand, a real bike brand that can take you on that journey, literally from your sort of, maybe even one day, your sort of, what do you call them, scooter bike, whatever you call them, all the way through to your big downhill rig. So it's been fascinating working with. Now we've had prototypes where Rachel's won World Cup races on it, and G's won national races on. And that's saying something. Usually to develop a bike, you're looking at years. they took as kind of a concept. I mean, give you an example. So when you make a carbon fiber bike, normally, this is one, by the way, I'm no expert about it. I've learned this over the last few months and year. But when you're making these carbon bikes, they lay them out in molds and they layer it up and you get the frame. They can take months to change these designs. We had a company, who it was exactly, one of the Athertons out racing, wanted to make a change to the bike. So they kind of sort of fed back to the team. They changed the engineering designs. These are 3D printed bikes. You then 3D print the joins, put the carbon fiber tubes back in, create the frame, put it all together, ship it back out to the team. The mechanics put it back together. They had a complete iteration new design in 4 days. And that's the tech. That's what technology allows you to do. And what tech allows you to do now is to do things in ways that traditional manufacturers couldn't do. What you can't do in any business, if you're thinking about it, is sell the average product to the average price, an average margin to the standard consumer. Because Amazon and all the big brands are going to kill you. So you've got to find some kind of niche and add some value and be creative about it.
And so where do you think the Athertons have found their niche and added value? What makes their bike special?
Well, they live and breathe bikes. So I can come along and give the business and give input into it, but they lived and breathe this. So they understand. They've got a very clear vision. They've got their own bike part they're building now, Dovey. They have a very clear vision for, you can't race bikes forever. And they want to have a legacy and they want their name to mean something. So, as I said before, whether it's the downhill bikes, that's what they race on. They won the world champions. They understand that. But that kind of journey they've been on, and the people they see in the car park at their bike park, wherever it might be, they get that constant feedback, and that allows them to understand what cynically where the market is. But they would never create or let someone buy a bike from the Atherton name on it that they weren't absolutely happy with. And I can tell you right now, they are super anally retentive.
I am not surprised. I'm not surprised to hear that. Piers, you seem to have frozen again, so let's try the log out, log in again. And in the meantime, if we can get on the screen, we'll get a little plug for Atherton Bikes, and we'll also get it into the live comments. So anyone who wants to find out a little bit about Atherton Bikes and why Piers Linney, investor from Dragon's Den, has actually invested in the bike industry. Is he doing it just because he loves biking and is a little bit of a fan? Or does he actually genuinely believe that this has got the legs to go somewhere, or the wheels, as it were? I don't really know how to do a good pun with that. But anyway, have a look in the comments there. We've got the Atherton Bikes, and I'm Anna from Cycling UK, and we're interviewing Piers Linney, who is now back with us, and we're going to be talking now about the cycling industry in general. Yeah, you have.
Not to say about
that. Yeah. Well, we'll try the log in, log out, and then we're going to be talking about the cycling industry. So Piers Linney, he's been in the city. He's been in investment banking, lawyers. He's been on Dragon's Den and invested in God knows how many tech companies. But what does this mean for cycling? What can somebody who's got such a money-driven insight have to offer and inform us about the cycling industry? So we might stop with the overlays, and we'll just have Piers hopefully join us again in one sec. This has been put on, by the way, for Bike Week. This is an audience with. We started it during lockdown, and we've just done this bonus session with Piers Linney today because it's Bike Week, and he's very business focused, but also knows about cycling. So it's got a very, very unique insight, actually. Yeah, you're back. So really pleased to have you. You've got a different browser. Yeah, oh, cool. Thanks. You're tech savvy enough. I'm sure you can work it out as you go along. Cheers for that. So would you say that you've got your finger on the pulse when it comes to the bike industry? Because you've been dabbling in it for a little while now. You've been with the Atherton Bikes and the Dirt Factory in Manchester as well. Do you feel like you know what's going on here?
I wouldn't pretend I've got my finger out on the pulse, to be quite frank. I'm probably a bit distant, but people I work with certainly have, so they live and breathe it. So they understand, and look at the Dirt Factory. It's a great example. I mean, those chaps came in. I can't remember. One of them was a postman. They came into my office about 5-6 years ago in Manchester, and they said, "Oh, I've frozen again."
Yeah, it has. Let's keep talking then.
Yeah.
We're getting
Basically, I came to office about how many years ago now, and they said, "Oh, we've got this ambition to build this bike park, indoor bike park. We've got a model." And I said, "Oh, I'd like to see the model." They went, "Hang on a minute," and they literally, I don't know how they even got it in a taxi. Came to my office, this massive model, and put it on the table and said, "That's what we want to build." And kind of like, right, okay. And then,
so can you explain to the audience what the Dirt Factory is? What's the model showing?
Yeah, so obviously it's quite difficult to people can't ride all year round. So they wanted to build. There's a couple in the US famous ones. These are kind of indoor bike parks. So this one's called Dirt Factory. So a lot of it is clearly dirt. They might have like a sort of a pump track that's not made out of dirt. But basically, you can ride on dirt all year round under a roof. And these things typically are very, very big. And they struggled actually to get a place because people said, well, no one's done it before. So they've got a place in Manchester now to pop up, which is quite big. And they're testing the model, which is going very well. Eventually, they'll expand into a much bigger unit. So that's another example of people had a vision to cycling. And for a lot of hard work, those guys, a lot of time and effort have made it happen.
Is it, do you get invested in it because you thought it was a great business proposition? Or is this something that you wanted to support because you just wanted to ride there?
Well, no, those guys was more really about them, to be honest with you. They were just, you can see the ambition. They were determined to do this. And, I didn't put a huge amount of money in, but I supported them. And I supported them in the PR as well. And
just to say, we've got you back now. So if you want to change the angle so we can see more than just your forehead and your nose, that's great.
So they basically, you can see the ambition, the determination to make it happen. And I kind of supported them along the way, really. But I didn't do a huge amount. I just give them a few tips here and there, and put a bit of money in, and they did all the hard work. And they've actually, you can go there now. It's amazing to see.
Have you ridden there yet?
I've been there once.
Best day of your life ever?
Well, they want to get me to do a backflip. So maybe one day I need to go do some yoga. Probably need to do some yoga first. Well, I might live in hospital. Well, they've got everything there. It's a really big unit, but they've got trails, jumps. They've got a big sort of airbag, so you can do a backflip if you wanted to. It's kind of all there. And the beauty of those places, I think, especially young kids, is, as you all know, if you've ever gone mountain biking, is that it's a great place to learn the basic skills and to get that progression. So you get that confidence of going out there and riding on dirt or pointing a bike down a hill.
So important to us mountain bikers.
Yeah, it's just cycle awareness. They do things with school kids about riding on the road. It's not just about dirt and dirt jumps and mountain bike, whatever it might be. It's about getting anybody on a bike, really.
Love it. And getting people on bikes. Well, lockdown has certainly done that. We've seen hundreds, thousands more people taking to the streets on their bikes, which is incredible. And actually it's led to a massive surge in the bike industry as well. So independent bike shops on the high street are reporting to be doing really well. We've heard of companies that have doubled their sales of bikes and bike kit and things like that. Do you think this is a temporary fad, or do you predict this is going to be a long-term boom within cycling?
I think there's been a massive kind of boom. Whether that's going to continue that same kind of angle of attack, the pace, I'm not sure. But I think generally, though, within a certain distance, you're going to find more and more people riding bikes to commute, if anything else. And I think the commuters are the ones that become next year's roadies or mountain bikers, the hobbyists. So I think just because the nature of cities and the way in which people want to live and the environment. And I think the way cities have been, you look at architecture, the way they're building cities, the way they're changing the layouts and the roads, they're making them more cycle friendly. When I started riding a bike in London, people sort of looking at you like you're crazy. Whereas now, you sort of stop at a traffic light and 400 of them turn up at a red light. So I think the cycling industry's got a long way to go.
Yeah,
also, let's not forget e-bikes. I mean, e-bikes change everything. I mean, a lot of, when they first came out, everyone was like, "Oh, e-bikes, you don't ride a bike, you're not a mountain biker," all this nonsense. And actually, I rode for the first time in France in the Alps, and it's a whole different thing. I mean, anybody can literally get out there now and go mountain biking because, let's face it, climb can be a killer. And the commuting, but e-bikes, that kind of gap between cycling and motorbikes and cars even, that's a huge change, and the technology is only going to get better.
Yeah, and it massively breaks down a barrier as well, doesn't it? If you're nervous about starting cycling, you just think it's going to be massively hard work. Well, pick a bike with a motor on it and you're good to go, and you can build your confidence and you can build your fitness that way. Yet again, here it's like in the UK, we see loads of people using e-bikes for all sorts of reasons, and it's exploding. It's exploding. So, are the Africans going to be bringing out an e-bike in their range?
Yeah, that's something we're working on. You have to, don't you? I think, in the not too distant future, the technology, the size of the drivetrains and batteries and all that good stuff, is that you probably find that a bike without some kind of drivetrain and batteries, some kind of assistance, will be a rarity. It'll be, it's like a classic bike with no battery in it. It'll be a bit like that, I think, because why wouldn't you have it there? If the geometry works and the feel works and they ride well, why wouldn't you have it?
I love it. A normal bike will be a retro bike.
Yeah, it's happening. I mean, it'll happen in my lifetime, and I'm getting on.
You keep saying that. Cycling keeps you young. Don't worry about it. You really don't need to worry.
That's why I need to get out. That's why I need to get out anymore. That's the other thing as well. There's more talk now about well-being and fitness, and prevention is better than cure. And you look at, I try and run, right, and I can't because I just hate it and it just hurts. I just don't see the point of it. And also you in a bike, you can just see more and go further, faster, and you don't get that impact as well. So people trying to, lose weight or just keep fit or cardio, vascular sort of activity, bikes are great. If you look at the numbers, it's as good as running, and I think you can go a lot further and see a lot more on the journey as well without ruining your knees on the way.
Yeah, and it feels good. And you cycled to work as well, you said there.
Yeah.
So how does cycling to work make you feel, setting you up for a day? Do you feel that you do get sort of like an activation boost and you're like, yeah, I'm good to go now, let's make some money?
This is my favorite part of the day, actually. So especially in the morning, I used to sort of I used to sort of sometimes road bike, but some days I go on my hardtail and I try and find routes through sort of estates down steps and stuff. And then obviously people don't like doing that too much, so you couldn't do that. But then I got a sort of a road bike, and I used to live in Highgate, so there's a big hill there. And then of course I found Strava, and that was a whole new thing. So then going home, I was racing 2-3 million other people between various spots on the way home and up hills. So that kind of activity, the commute I found was one of my favourite parts of the day. It wasn't so much when it was raining, but the reality is that it rains. You got wet very rarely.
Yeah, for it to be raining exactly at the moment you're on your bike, there's some statistic out there which I don't know off the top of my head, which it's actually very little.
It is,
and because you also build, you help workforces build teams and create the right staff for the workplace and stuff like that. Is that correct?
Well, I try to. I'm no consultant, but I try and do it in businesses really, because I think that teams. In the day, a business is as good as the people in it. That's what it is. It's a collection of people with a common goal. And if the dynamic's not working, or people haven't got the right skills or the right motivation, or they're not putting in, everyone else is not sort of pulling in the right direction, then it's very hard to succeed.
So I'm totally and unashamedly trying to put words in your mouth here, but if you're creating a workforce and you're trying to encourage motivated staff, do you reckon staff that cycle to work are good for the economy? Does it have a positive impact financially?
So, I mean, it depends on how. If you live within a reasonable distance of where you work, and all employers now, I'm amazed they all don't. All employers should make it easy for you to commute on a bike, have somewhere to store the bike safely because they do get stolen, and have somewhere to have a shower and get changed. Now, that can be hard for some companies who haven't got the space, but insofar as you can make that possible, why wouldn't you? Because I think people are fitter. They don't have to get involved in public transport. It's a new hobby essentially. It's great for the environment. I don't understand why, and this is where e-bikes come into it as well, where you don't have to get a sweat on these days, where you can get a bike that's got a bit of assistance. If you've got a few hills in the way home you don't fancy, you can get some help. So it's rapidly becoming a time where I don't think commuting to work on public transport makes sense. However, you probably need to live within, I don't know what the distance is, but 3-4 miles for most people. Most other people do like 20-mile commutes each way every day, and they go looking for hills, but they're the exception to the rule.
Yeah, and they're not going to be the people that turn up looking fresh in their jeans and their shirts,
Yeah.
as it were. Cool. So we're going to play a little game now. I'm just checking on the time. So we've got about 15 minutes. So anybody who's watching who wants to ask Piers any questions, he did say to me earlier, no holds barred. Basically, there are no topics that he will not answer about. So if you want to go in deep about Dragon's Den, go for it. If you want to find out what Deborah Meaden is like behind the scenes, ask away. If you'd like to ask an intelligent question about cycling and business, that's fine too. But so get your questions ready, get them in the comments, and we're going to play a little game now, Piers. It's called Put It to Piers. Do you like the name?
I love it. I love it.
Thanks. It was a team effort, I must admit. So we've created this game to play with you, and it piggybacks a little bit on your experience at Dragon's Den, but also bringing in the cycling theme, because that's what we're all about. We're going to pitch to you some business concepts to do with cycling.
Right.
You can give 3 answers. I probably should have warned you about this earlier, actually, so you can write them down or something. But you've got a choice of 3 answers. That will cross the finish line, need some teamwork, or emergency stop. That's the get out of here. So do you want me to repeat those, or you want it?
No, I've written it down. I've got a pen and paper.
Okay. So we've had people already so on it. We've had some people already send through their ideas, and we're going to start off with the easy cycle.
Right.
So we've got at the bottom of the screen here, we've just got like a rough outline of what it is. And basically the concept aims to increase workforce health and productivity. So it reduces sickness, as well as reducing electricity costs to employers, and it helps the environment, all in the same spin. So the Easy Cycle is a dynamo static bike unit. And it provides the primary source of electricity to a terminal. So laptops would be charged by the worker, and it would help them feel mentally and physically ready to work, dependent on the efficiency of the product designed. So obviously these people haven't actually designed the products. This exercise would aim to last a few minutes, but provide sufficient charge to enable the laptop to run until lunchtime or more. There's already plentiful examples of over 50s type gentle exercise programs where easy to cycle frames are employed. So this is something that our submitter is confident that would be suitable for both highly active and, more importantly, sedate employees. So what do you think of that?
Well, if that's 120 quid, it sounds very cheap. And I think it's like without the rollers, you've got to decide what it is your products are you trying to sell. Are you selling a whole unit, which is, seat, pedal, for gets to the desk? That can be a very expensive unit compared to, it might power a terminal, but most businesses, especially smaller businesses, they might get a terminal powered, but it costs them 800 quid, which is compared to a 50 quid chair. Then you might find they're not going to buy it anyway. So the point is that you've got to do your homework. No matter how good you think the product is, with any entrepreneur suffers from this. It's entrepreneurial blind optimism. I've done the same. You've got to do your homework and say, right, I get it, I get the idea, but how am I going to make someone pay for it? Now I'm going to hit a price point that makes sense, because you can't have a pair of rollers and someone brings their bike in, because I'll spend 15 minutes a day faffing around trying to get the thing to work. So, and it's also the realities of it in terms of, if they get tired, what happens? Does their computer turn off? Has it got backup? So there's quite a lot of product development in that, more than you actually would probably imagine. So the pricing can't be right unless it's super simple.
It's a bit fantasy.
So the idea is there, but I mean, I think this kind of exists if you look out there. So things like this, there are other ways in which you can generate electricity by moving in chairs and things to power. But the idea is good, but then most people just want to get sweaty and go to a spin class after work.
So what are you going to give that out of that to cross the finish line? Need some teamwork or emergency?
I'll give that some teamwork actually on purely on the product design and what problem you're trying to solve, how you're going to do it, how you're going to make it affordable, and how you're going to get a company to pay for it.
This game is working better than I thought. I forgot that you're really good at this. Great. Okay, we're moving on to the next concept. It's called Bike App. And it's an app for every cyclist phone that emails a signal, and it's picked up by all new cars. So new cars are having their ECU implemented into them and sold in the UK or perhaps worldwide to make the roads safer for cyclists. The person isn't a programmer and knows it's quite a far-fetched idea, but they'd love to see this implemented to make cycling safer. It would be an app that you could buy on an app store for 99p.
So it's not actually that far-fetched. If you think about, again, in the not too distant future, cars will drive themselves, and these things they've got many, many more sensors than a human being, and they can look eye to the back of the head quite literally. So if you can, cars will be. You see these sci-fi films where these things are flying through the air in lanes at different heights. I mean, Elon Musk trying to do that by building 3D roads underground in tunnels. But if you have cars that can know where each other are, and then you can actually have some kind of device on you that tells cars where you are as well and what you are, so you're a cyclist, then you could have some kind of safety application. The only issue is, of course, is that it's got to be very accurate. Now, I think if it was a computer looking for you, weirdly, this might sound weird, I probably trust it more than a human. Most humans are too busy driving or staring into space or daydreaming, worrying about getting through the next red light. Even if there's some light flashing in the corner, there's some kid on a bike near to them, they're probably not going to notice it. But you can imagine that when you've got cars that are intelligent and they know that is a young person, or whoever it might be, whatever the profile is, on a bike nearby or a scooter or something else, then you can imagine it's an application. Again, this is not just software. You need some hardware as well. So it's about, can you use the hardware in these, because it's all there, isn't it? And then have your app. But 99p sounds good. You're going to make sure that's going to pay for your development costs. So again, that's another teamwork thing. It might be slightly ahead of its time.
Nice one. Like it. Okay, we've got 2 more to go. We're moving on now to the Snail Trail. Now, I love this one just because of the name, and it's a way to another cycle safety thing. So obviously our audience are quite concerned about that, it seems, and it's a way to inform motorists that there is a child or a person on a bike a short distance ahead of them. So instead of using computer tech here, it's using a substance. It's a biodegradable substance that's fluorescent, and it's deposited on the road in the form of a drip. This person also would like to develop it with Elon Musk. Says, why not? As he has the vision, imagination, and technical and scientific contacts, and the money and track record to make it a success.
So I'm trying to picture what the hell that stuff is. It's some radioactive gunk that's spilling out everyone's bikes behind them in the road. So I think having something like that. Because the issue at the end of the day is that it becomes something you need to refill all the time. So if you've got one bike going down a road, there's one fluorescent trail, that's great. If you're in central London and there's 40 bikes at a red light, all with the Snail Trail dripping out behind them, very quickly, it's going to look like just a spaghetti, a mess. You'll never know what's going on, who's going where. And it's going to be, is it slippery? And what's it made out of? Is it biodegradable? Can it wash away with rain and it causes no harm? So I think the idea of dripping stuff around the public roads, whatever it might be, probably find that the police and local council have got something to say about that. So I don't think that's a flyer. I want to give that one an emergency stop, I'm afraid. Assuming you can stop or you don't slide through a red light.
Oh, brilliant. You seem to have frozen again, Piers.
Oh.
Are you aware of that?
No, you know it.
That's strange. So do you want to log out and log in, or do you want to hear?
I'll be back in a minute.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
We're playing Put It to Piers.
I don't know what that is. No.
I'm really enjoying this. So next up, we've got the Trolley Rack. And they've said themselves, sorry, not a very wow name. When you come up with a name that does what it says on the tin. So it's a bike rack that converts into a trolley for helping to move a boxed bike. It's mainly aimed at touring cyclists because, as we know, it can be very difficult handling a bike box. A separate trolley is no good because it's more weight and can't be left behind on an A to B tour. It's quite a niche product, so they'd love if it could just be made in the UK using a 3D printer, quite a one-off thing, not like a massively mass-produced thing. It's around about 35.
Right. I think this is a fantastic example of a product that the world just does not need. Sorry to say that. So it's got to be easier putting wheels on the well, you see that already, don't you? Putting wheels on the bike box, but having something else, and also bike racks tend to be reasonably heavy. And can you do some transformer style design where that turns into a trolley? I think you're better off just sticking some wheels on the bottom of your bike box, to be quite frank.
Yeah,
I don't think it's practical. I don't think it's another thing that you probably don't need to take away with you.
What bike box do you use when you travel?
Well, normally I have like one of the, the fold. I've got a car with a bike rack on the back of the car, so you can get 4 bikes on it. So I just put them on there. I've always done that. What I found is when I put them on the back of the car, the interior of the car just gets destroyed with pedals and chains and God knows what else. So I've got one of those big bike racks where you can put 4 on the back of it, so you can load it. But even then, that's quite big and cumbersome. I can't imagine how you can turn that into something useful.
Yeah, they are. I mean, bike bags and bike boxes are the bane of your life when you're traveling.
I've never used them. Even when took my friends away, we all looked at it and we decided just to hire a load of bikes when we got out there, to be honest with you. It was just like you say, it is hard work. Probably easier with road bikes.
Do you know what's a nightmare as well? Is when you're at an airport and you've got your trolley and you've got your bike bag on the trolley, but then you have these metal posts, which I don't know why they exist at airports. I think they're there to stop terrorists driving in or something like that. But you have these posts that are too narrow for you to push your trolley and your bike bag through. So you have to take the bike bag off the trolley, drag it through the post, then take the trolley through, then put it back on.
Yeah, there's always a risk that they don't put it on, or you get there and say, "Oh, that won't fit on this," or weight. Or I've had two trips where people have ended up arriving and the bike never did.
Yes, yeah, I've seen that here.
Which is not ideal.
Quite a lot as well. People coming for their holidays.
The idea is good. I can see why, but it's one of those things that there's probably an easier way of doing it than buying out. And also, £35 would be, I think, I'd probably put a zero on the end of that, probably, depending how simple it is. But I would just create some kind of, it's simplistically some wheels you can just attach to bike boxes or bike bags.
So are you gonna give that an answer?
Stop, I'm afraid.
It's an emergency stop.
Yeah.
All right. So we've not had any that definitively cross the finish line, but we've got a few good ideas in there that with a little bit of work could potentially be the one. And we're super running out of time. My God, it's literally flown by. People have enjoyed the questions, have enjoyed that game, so that's really cool. We've got a question here for you, Piers, but you've frozen.
Oh, that's just so annoying.
Do the thing again that you do.
I've got a posh webcam as well. What's going on? How's that? There you go.
Yeah. The posh webcam is very good. You've got a very good quality screen when it works.
It doesn't like this. Right, what's the question?
Cool. So the question here is on the bottom of the screen from Jean-Claude. Lots of people on bikes are brilliant. What do you think about cargo bikes and the future of those? Any brands you're particularly aware of?
Clean up what a cargo bike is.
Okay, so cargo bike is a bike that's got like a box in front of it, which you can put stuff in. So you might see photos of like people with their kids in the front of it, or their cargo, basically. And anyone else that's got questions for Piers Linney, we'll try and get one or.
A lot of these things about great design, aren't they? It's about having something that it works, it's functional, it looks good, it's affordable. You can build it in a way where you can actually make some money out of it. There's a margin in it. So really, it's about great design. And I think that the more people use bikes, especially if you've got some kind of assistance, you can lug more around with them. You'll find there'll be more and more applications. So you might get the back box, the front. You might have, you're going to have. There's going to be a very interesting point in time where there's not much. You can't put a piece of paper between, scooters, bikes, motorbikes, cars. They're all going to begin to merge at that end of the market. So whether you have 2 wheels, 3 wheels, a box, and you can have a passenger by the side of you and the back of you, you find this is all going to become quite a complex space. Yeah.
Fair enough. Right. Literally, I'm just keeping an eye on the time there. We've got 1 minute to go, but we've just got one question in saying about the game there. Would you like to invest in any of the 3 that you said needed work from our Put It to Piers game?
No, we'll need more work, and that's what building a business is about. Actually, it's about getting out there, doing exactly this, taking feedback and going away and trying to iterate that product until it's got the maximum potential of being sold or somebody buying it. And but being an entrepreneur, it's like being a scientist. So I always say this is that you have a hypothesis, and it might be some kryptonite slug trail behind your bike, whatever it might be. You have an idea hypothesis, and you go and test it as cheaply as possible, so you don't burn all your resources and money. And you test it, and you talk to people, and you get feedback, and you keep changing it as much as you can. And if you can find a way of making it connect with those target customers, you've got a business. If you can't, leave it and go and do something else. It's not failure, it's just testing a hypothesis. That's what being an entrepreneur is about. And when you do finally get it right, you can then, if it works, your margin's there, you can then scale that business up. But don't be afraid of trying things, having crazy ideas. Go and read Phil Knight, the guy that founded Nike, his book called it's called Shoe Dog, and he calls it his crazy idea. That was Nike. So don't be afraid of that.
I don't think we could have finished on a more positive and realistic note. There are a few more questions in the comments, so if you want to go back to that and answer them in your own time, Piers, you're welcome to, but no pressure whatsoever. Thank you so much for your time today. It's been fascinating and a totally unique insight into the cycling world of business and a little bit more about you, the person behind what people have seen on the screen. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. The webcam just about held up. Bye,
just
everyone.
About. See you later. Bye.
Bye.
All right, everyone. I really hope that you enjoyed that audience with. It was a super special guest today. Somebody who's less familiar known in the world of cycling and way more known in the world of TV showbiz and business. And I hope you picked up some top tips there. It's been really, really enjoyable. Thank you so much for your comments. That is what helps make these series extra special. So thanks for joining us today. Do get involved in Bike Week. It's a hashtag challenge of 7 days of cycling. Day 4 so far, so you can still jump on the bandwagon now if you haven't already. Cycling UK are offering loads of free activities to help motivate you to cycle, so please do go and check it out at www.bikeweek.org.uk. I'm Anna. I'll see you next time. Bye.